Welcome back to Morgan's video blog, Morgan's online blog in video format. Today I'm sharing with you Morgan's 2018 retrospective. So 2018 was a year like no other. Some parts were very stressful, some parts were lazy, and some parts were productive. As with 2017, I may not have ended my year with a signed agent, but I didn't just sit around. I queried 9 agents, attended 2 writing conventions, including my first time as a panelist, wrote my 4th novel, several short stories, 31 poems, and revised my 4th novel 2 more times, including that R&R from 2017 that turned into a rejection. Between Balticon and World Fantasy Con, I hit 21 panels, plus the one I was on, attended 3 different writing groups, joined 3 groups, although not all the same ones, hit a local writers workshop, and even picked up a mic at a poetry jam night. This year, I did a lot more interacting in person, you can tell from that achievement list, versus all the virtual interaction I've done in the past. But I love comparing numbers, so let's take a look. My writing goals for last year. As always, I tried to use SMART goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, results focused, and time bound. So, my first goal was to query novel 1 at least 3 times every other week until I get an agent, unless I'm revising it. Well, let's hear it for caveats, because that's the only way this could possibly even partially be true. I queried 9 agents, so that counts for 6 weeks. I guess I was revising for most of the year, or waiting on beta readers. So, working on my NaNoWriMo, etc. So, goal number 2 was to move forward with my picture book, which I didn't. Number 3 was to revise at least one of my shelved rough drafts. No, I didn't touch any of them. I thought about it really hard, at least for 2 weeks, but no, it didn't actually happen. Goal number 4 was to write something new during NaNoWriMo, and I got half credit if I rewrote something old. Complete win! I wrote my new middle grade fantasy contemporary story that turned into a drama class story. Clearly too much wishbone in my childhood. So, goal number 5 was to keep blogging and to decide if vlogging was worth it. Win! As you can tell, vlogging I decided to keep up with, and I maintained my average. So, goal number 6 was to try to use social media better. More one-liners on Tumblr, more consistent posts on Twitter, Instagram at least once a week. Win. Total win here. I didn't go viral, but nice steady growth. And read an average of 2 books a month and rank them on Goodreads. Bonus points if I review them. Well, I reviewed 3 books, but I did rank everything I read. So I also said that I was going to give myself a pass for March because I was planning on moving, and on December because I'd be recovering from NaNoWriMo, and I usually have a lot of holiday and family obligations. Well, the move dragged into April and early May, but December was as predicted. And there are things I achieved that weren't actually on this list. So I joined the Write by the Rails and the Broad Universe, attended more local NaNoWriMo write-ins. I read my poem, written about my nerves while awaiting query, rejection, or acceptance, at a poetry night. I was on my first panel. I wrote a poem a day for all of October, and I wrote 1 short story for querying and tossed 3 short snippets up on Reddit. So, that's kind of a lot. It might not be novels, but that doesn't mean I wasn't writing. So let's talk about my blogging. My top lifetime post continues to be my sleeper hit from 2016. It's been published in a book of writing essays and is now up to 1,945 views, beating viewings this past year alone, my next most popular post by a factor of 4. 10 questions to ask your beta readers. This year, I started 2 new features on my blog, and I participated in a blog hop where I shared other people's words on my blog. I was a little uncomfortable, but they were good posts, so I went ahead and shared away. Unfortunately, none of these really proved very popular, but I hope their following will grow, and I do plan to keep doing them. The features are, of course, my query corner, where I rewrite queries for authors preparing to enter the query trenches, and my author spotlight, where I interview friends who are writers who have upcoming book releases, so I can help support them. I am no longer hustling for entries. I'm not trying to do it every week, but I will share them as I have ones queued up. If you'd like to participate, please contact me at morgan.s.hazelwood@gmail.com. So, drumroll please, my top 10 posts of 2018. Number 10, tips on writing characters with agency. Number 9, a starter's guide for a starter's guide for fiction writers trying to establish a social media presence, part 2. 8, 3 things to consider before fixing your writing. 7, why you should consider an agent if you're hoping to traditionally publish. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, pitch wars, not for me this year. 5, a starter's guide for fiction writers trying to establish a social media presence, part 1. If you notice, part 1 and 2 made the top 10. I found out multi-part blog posts end up with higher hit counts on the earlier posts. Handy note that I have never actually ever taken advantage of before or since. Number 4, when querying a novel, hope can be the scariest thing. My experience after a request. Number 3, so you've decided to write a novel. Here are 7 tips to get started. Number 2, agents and editors share pitches they're sick of and ones they'd like to hear more of. And my number 1 post for 2018, when you ask for someone to read your first chapter, a rant. Rants are popular, so I'm glad y'all enjoyed it. So I'm going to take a moment to share with you my top 5 YouTube video hits of 2018. They may not have been published this year, but the views were excellent. Number 5 was that agents and editors sharing pitches they're sick of. Number 4 was what lies beneath, adding subtext to your story. Number 3 was tips for writing characters with agency. Number 2 was 10 questions to ask your beta readers. And number 1 was how to create a new mythology. So I hope you enjoyed those. My top 3 blog posts of 2017 were Pitch Wars is Coming, #PimpMyBio, Top 10 Tricks for a Better Query Letter, and Confession, I've Been Struggling. Flashback to 2016, my top 3 posts were 5 Stages of a Pitch Wars Hopeful, 5 Big Things I've Learned About Editing, and An Outline to Write By. And my original blogging year of 2015, top 3, Packing, Editing Your Life, I'd Make a Good Henchman, and Handling the Unavoidable Info Dump. I gotta say, I've actually put out a reasonable amount of content, I think. So, moving on. Social media stats. This might bore most of you, but feel free to stick around and see how I've compared from this year to last year. I like stats and I like tracking progress. So here are my numbers. I try to be both engaged and engaging while still investing in upping my content creation for all mediums. Followers. First off, I specifically worked at getting more followers for my YouTube channel and Instagram. I was sporadic with Pinterest and Reddit, and having hit the Twitter follow limit, I can only add people back as more people add me. But between all my social media accounts, I added 2,721 followers this year, about 300 shy of last year's additions. As always, Twitter was the bulk of the ads, but percentage-wise, YouTube was first with 73% growth, and now I have 51 awesome subscribers. I love you guys. If you're viewing and you don't already subscribe, I'd love it if you did. Okay, plug done. Instagram and Tumblr followers more than doubled, and even WordPress was up by 43%. I'm at 550 followers there. There's beautiful charts on the blog if you want to click the link and hop over there. Content. This year, I maintained my blogging streak of at least once a week, kept up with the vlogging, obviously. My Goodreads stats are all about the books I've read this year. Facebook wouldn't really give me year stats, so I scrolled through and I can at least compare 2017 to 2016. But based on my plans from last year, I averaged posting to Instagram twice a week, so doubled my goal. And I did start using Pinterest, even if it was horribly inconsistent. WordPress. I started this blog in April of 2015, and as opposed to last year, I had 8,759 views, up almost 1,000 from last year. I had 58 visitors, which is 450-ish more than last year. I posted 107 times, which, as you can tell, is more than 52 weeks. I got 1,406 likes, up almost 500 from last year, so better engagement there. And I got 587 comments, which is up 377 from last year. The blog content breakdown was about half just me sharing stuff. A quarter of it was Query Corner posts. There were 11 panel breakdowns, and the rest were divided between the guest posts, the author spotlights, a couple flashback posts, and me resharing my poetry in October. So on Twitter, I could be more engaged. I should try at least once a week to go through and read a couple of my lists. Back a couple days. Mostly I just post and respond to my notifications, though. It's a good way to avoid the drama. On Tumblr, I know with the new regulations that I don't know if it'll be around next year, but I'm still trying to be active with the right blogger community, and I'm trying to interact more with people. I've gotten better at reblogging content and using their queue feature. I'd be pretty solid on content provisions if I just queued up stuff for 20 minutes once a week. So I'm going to try to do that more regularly. On Instagram, I have a confession. I was about 50 followers shy of that 1K mark last week. And then there was a New Year's book blogger, writer, community group follow event that I joined, and now I'm comfortably into the thousands of, well, over 1,000 followers. And I think I saw a prototype for making lists, which would be really handy. So because Instagram names are not very helpful very often for remembering who's who. So Pinterest, I've stepped up my usage, as I said, sporadically, but I plan to make a mood board for my most recent story and maybe share quotes and keep up with the linking back to the blog, because that actually got me a few hits. Facebook page does not give me any stats and shows most of my posts to like 10% of my followers. It's annoying, but I'm not paying because I don't have a book yet, and I'll just repost on my personal page. On my personal page, I mostly got new followers from the pitch war support groups and people I met in person in life. It was weird meeting people in life and then friending them on Facebook. Is that what normal people do? Or it's weird. So Google Plus had a bit more engagement this year, but it doesn't matter because it's dying. I think it's scheduled to shut down in like a month. Goodreads, I posted all the books I read, and I am aiming for the same number again next year, or this year. But that's to next week's posts. And Reddit, I didn't do a breakdown last year. I joined in January of 2017 and posted once. I actually started using it this year, and now my karma is 406. I had 19 posts. 3 of them were short stories, and 1 of them was that poem I read at that open mic night that I mentioned earlier. So, in conclusion, I didn't do as much as I hoped. I didn't revise any of my old manuscripts. They sat in files on my Google Drive. Some of that was external. People who are reading your work out of the kindness of their hearts and working around their own schedules aren't necessarily going to adhere to your schedule. And my paying job got really busy in the second half of the year, especially ramping up in the fourth quarter. But some of the issues were the consequences of personal decisions. I bought a house in April and moved in May. I'm still running 2 pitch war support groups and administering a sci-fi fantasy writers group. That takes time, energy, and spoons. I decided to do my best to keep up with like 5 million types of social media, clearly. I like 9 hours of sleep a night, even if 7 is more standard. And I still have scheduled social time with friends Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights. And my blog post writing is on Wednesday nights and a full weekend schedule. Yeah, I should probably make enemies out of my friends and just stay home and hermit. One could argue that I've been deprioritizing my writing over networking this year, but honestly, I'm kind of burnt out, and I'm going to be gentle on myself, let myself take a break, and come back when I'm excited. However, this doesn't mean I'm going to, belittle what I did accomplish this year. I did do a lot of writing. More revising on my first novel than anticipated. I grew my vlog. I critiqued novels for friends and family. I read an average of 2 books a month. I may have fallen short, but you know what Les Brown says about that? If you shoot for the moon, even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. How well did you do on your goals for last year? Had you given them up in January, or did you rock the bleep out of them? Or did you kind of do okay on some and think maybe SMART goals might help out? Let me know in the comments below. As always, feel free to subscribe and tune in next week for more writing tips and writerly musings. See you then.